We've been discussing 10 impurities of insight, and we touched on this sukha, which is the 5th impurity of insight, which means well-being, happiness, delight. It is quite obvious that this sukha arises in association with the noting mind. Because of this mental happiness, there will be this physical well-being together with it. Therefore, at this stage, one may be relieved or cured or treated of one's disease or diseases. Furthermore, reflecting on this experience, one may rejoice over it extremely. And the delight is so great that one cannot help but share one's experience with others. Yogi who possesses this piti pasati sukha will enjoy this happiness which transcends or surpasses manifold the sensual pleasures of human endeavors. So, with this, today we would like to discuss about this, and the Buddha has set 2 verses in connection with this subject. And these 2 verses, which are recited in Pali, means whoever sees the Dhamma experiences the joy which transcends or surpasses that of ordinary humans and devas. And also this is the way to the deathless state, namely Nibbana. As to the first verse, Bhikkhu who sees correctly his mind and body realizes this kind of happiness. Why does he or she realize this happiness? Now in this verse is given this sunyagaram pavaitasa. Sunyagaram meaning secluded place, free of inhabitants, free of human noise, sounds and so on, free of noise, not noisy. For instance, this place, a forest center, although it is not totally free from noise or noises, it is free to some extent, so that it is not distractive at this point. So the purpose of becoming a bhikkhu and coming and living in a place like this is to weaken or if possible uproot the kilesas which are the causes of suffering. This is the first step. Just coming to the forest, entering a forest retreat is not enough to overcome, to realize happiness which excels or surpasses the the happiness of deva and humans. This expression, santa chitasa. Santa, free of worry and restlessness, autecha kukucha. Free of emotions, free of agitated mind, and to be peaceful. That is what is meant by this santa chitasa. Peaceful mind. For ordinary people who are not practicing, who are not being trained, especially with the practice of satipatthana, they leave their mind uncontrolled and leave the mind to have its own will. Then the mind will become easily agitated with emotions, such as there will be craving or lust about agreeable objects in a small way or to some extent or in a large way, and aversion about undesirable, disagreeable objects. In this way, the mind becomes agitated, and the mind can also be agitated by means of mana. When mana, pride, enters one's mind, one becomes proud or conceited, one will become agitated. This is another negative emotion. and also emotions as a result of envy, avarice, and so on. In this way, the agitated mind can become polluted so that it becomes viscous, not free-flowing. So coming to the retreat, learning the method of practice, correct method of practice, and initiating the practice, starting with the mindfulness of the main object of rising and falling. In the beginning, of course, one may not make any difference, but as time goes on, in the course of the practice, with energetic precision, the mind will be able to connect with the object consciously, wakefully. With the aim, with the precise focusing, the mind is concurrent with the object, and with the exertion of energy, the mind is directed to the object. In this way, as the objects to be noted are properly connected, then the mind will fall calm and collected on the object noted. In this way, one realizes the Santa Chitta, peaceful mind, not being agitated, and not being subject to emotions like raga, dosa, and so on. And with passaddhi, calm and tranquility, the mind becomes calm. This is the second step of the yogi. If one cannot control the mind with the correct method, it will be just like when the waves, when the water has waves, the waves are moving about, rippling about with the waves, then the water will be full of sediments, polluted, contaminated, because it is not calm. So also the mind is not calm. When the mind is not calm, the mind will become contaminated, polluted. When the water is not calm, like being disturbed by waves and ripples, then there will be a lot of sediments. If there are sediments, then the water will not be clear. So too with the mind. If the mind is agitated with all these emotional feelings, then the mind will always be agitated with raga sediments, or at times dosa sediments, aversion, moha sediments, mana sediments, and so on, so that our mind will never become clarified. When it calms down, with the sediment settling down, then as the water is calm and the sediment settles down, then the water is bound to become clear. Then one would be free of this remorse and restlessness. They tend to weaken and become tranquilized, leading to passaddhi, calmness, together with its associated mental states such as lahuta, lightness, and so on. At that time, this expression, paddata kayo sukham videti, as the one becomes calm and peaceful, one is bound to realize the sukha, that is well-being, joy, happiness, and delight in the body. And then sukhino chaitam samadhiyati. If one has sukha, one is happy, then one's mind is bound to become tranquilized. So it is just like when you keep a candlelight in a room free from draught, then it will always be still. It will not move about here and there. It will not sway. It will be still. So too, when the water is not moving about, is not shaking, then the sediments are bound to settle down, leaving the mind clear, better and clearer and clearer. At this stage, to talk about sukha, it will be better explained if we do that in terms of the qualities, lakkhana, rasa, patipatthana. There are two kinds of sukha, kayika sukha and cetasika sukha. Kayika sukha, physical well-being. feeling of well-being in the body, and Chitisika Sukha, feeling of well-being in the mind, Somanasa, another term for that. So in the text is given this Sabhava Lakkhana, natural characteristic of Kayika Sukha, physical well-being, as experiencing good things, good feeling, good experiences. Feeling of good things is the natural characteristic of Kayika Sukha. It also its function is to delight its associated mental states, so that its associated mental states, the mental states which accompany Sukha, also becomes delighted. So this is as a result of this Sukha, the mind becomes very delighted, happy. This is a function of Sukha. And in the body, then it becomes manifested in one's mind that it is a good experience, good feeling. Not the kind of feeling like raga, craving or lust, but it is good experience in the form of physical well-being. This will become manifested in one's mind. This is another quality of Kayika Sukha. So at this stage, there's so much good feeling in the body that yogi cannot help but utter, "Oh, so good, feels so good." This is the quality. This is the evidence of Kayika Sukha, physical well-being. Earlier on, when one was sitting for a long time, one experienced excruciating physical sensations, so that one becomes exhausted mentally, physically, and became very weak. If one had some kind of sickness or illness in the initial stage, and with this unbearable sensations which arise as a result of the practice, there will be dukkha over dukkha, so that the real unbearable sensations will become very, very obvious. At this stage, one will become exhausted. It's just like when one is pierced with a thorn. One felt very bad and uncomfortable. But at this stage, at the stage of Sukha, there's so much well-being that one feels as though nothing is happening. There's only the sense of well-being, and one is also relieved of these sickness or diseases. In the beginning, before one is able to gain concentration and insight, at this stage when one experiences excruciating sensations, one felt so bad and uncomfortable that one felt that one did not wish to sit again, not even wish to look at one's seat to sit down. That much would one feel. But when one comes to this stage of Sukha, overcoming all these sensations, then one will wish to sit and go on sitting as much as one likes. So that one will, at this stage, one is ready to challenge any sensations, good or bad, because one has the ability, one has the heroic energy to overcome it. This is quite obvious at this stage, that one feels in this way at this stage of Sukha. As for the other Sukha, namely Chitisika Sukha, mental well-being or Somanasa, the characteristic is feeling good things in the mind, experiencing good things in the mind, like using good things all the time. So experiencing and using or utilizing. And then its function is to cause its associated mental states which accompany Somanasa, becomes delighted. There may be problems, stress and strains, and human problems which cannot be solved by ordinary means, ordinary worldly means. They can be solved, and one will be free of this stress and strain and feeling very light and well, free of these social problems or stress and strain which which had not been able to be solved previously by ordinary worldly means. So the way is open at this stage to find a solution. That is what is meant. And then in the mind, it becomes manifested in one's mind that there's only good things arising in the mind, well-being in the mind, feeling good in the mind. At this stage, sukha becomes very obvious in the mind. So previously, one was not happy with one's own problems, stress and strain and tension. Now one finds a solution and be able to overcome this with sukha in a wonderful manner. Earlier on, one has encountered the human problems, social problems, and only encounter bad experiences, undesirable experiences, leading to domanassa, mental distress. And though one does not wish to use them, one has been using them. That means these objects, undesirable objects, which cause mental distress. One has been living with it unavoidably. At that, mind becomes exhausted, wearied, become weak, and then in this way there was mental distress, not feeling well in the mind. So this leads to domanassa, and the opposite of that is somanassa. So although in the materialistic countries which have developed, or developed countries, materially, they can live with high standards of living, one thinks thinking that these problems, human problems, are real happiness. Human happiness is real happiness. The worldly happiness is the genuine happiness. They take it for granted, because they don't know how to find real happiness, spiritual wise, not knowing the method, not looking for the method, and they just being content with their worldly happiness. Although they are externally, they are happy, or actually they look happy, but internally they were burning with fire, or all sorts of fire. Just like a heartburn, suffering from heartburn in an air-conditioned room. Although one has all these things at one's command, material things at one's command, it looks as though one is happy. In actual fact, one is burned with the internal fires. When the yogi comes at this stage with the practice of meditation, one finds a solution, way of solution to overcome these internal fires, so that one can experience well-being, happiness, worldly-wise, as well as spiritually. So, in this way, one can overcome, at this stage, the internal fires. In this connection, there was an episode which happened with one American man. When he was young, of good age, he had all the things that he needed, but there was one thing he needed. He didn't know what it was. There was something lacking in his life. At that time, he confessed to Sayadaw that there's nothing bad he has not done. He has done all sorts of duchritas, immoral deeds, bad deeds. And he worked hard, earned a lot of income, good income, and he has everything at his command. But he was lacking something was lacking, and he didn't know what it was. And at that time his wife ran away with all the properties, leaving him alone with mental distress, suffering mental distress. So of course he might be finding a solution to overcome this suffering, pain in his own way. While he was doing that, he met a new wife, a Kalyana Mita, a spiritual friend. through whom he came into the arena of this practice, Dhamma practice, and he found that this practice is a solution. He found a solution. This is what he wanted. This was what was lacking in his life. He was a good wife. He had a good wife now. And then he knew that it was this kind of life, the practice which he needed previously. Now he practiced meditation and sustained the 5 precepts, and also had good income, and everything was good, in good condition. So this is the story which happened right now, or very recently. So according to this, we can conclude that with the Dhamma practice, one realizes this Dhamma rati, Dhamma delight, as well as good spouse. As for the man, good wife, and if also the woman can also get good husband, and if they want good spouses, all they have to do is just undertake this practice. But it is not encouraging you, exhorting you to enjoy these sensual pleasures, not painting this picture to the sentimentalists. But it is what can happen. Of course, he can only exhort man to become a monk and woman to become a nun, leaving clarity, free of restlessness and remorse. One feels relief of these things, then there is physical and mental happiness. So that the mind will stay where you put it, keep it. That is, if you connect with the object, the mind will stay there, not go elsewhere, leading to the unification of mind. The mind falls calm and collected on the objects noted. So that the samadhi, when samadhi arises continuously with the preceding samadhi, continues with the succeeding one, the concentration will become energized, seeing things as they are. Yatha bhuta jnana. Seeing things as they are. What are the things as they exist? Things exist as mind and body. There are only mind and body and nothing else. So you see that just mind and body as they are. And the mind and body are subject to conditionality, and you see this cause and effect process of the mind and body, which exist as they are, which are the truth. And then you see from the basics this insight, namely the psychophysical phenomena which are conditioned, arise and pass away, and they are unsatisfactory and selfless, impersonal, substanceless. Especially when you reach the stage of Uriya Jnana, you see this phenomena very clearly and fully, seeing correctly and fully the arising and passing away in a fast manner about the objects noted. This is samadhammam vipassati, seeing the correct Dhamma, or seeing the Dhamma correctly. Who sees the Dhamma correctly, or who sees things correctly in this way? Bhikkhu, no, bhikkhu. Bhikkhu means yogi. May he, she be human or deva, may he, she be laity or monks or nuns. They are the people who see the truth of the Dhamma. Seeing fear in samsara, the wheel of rebirths, is what we call bhikkhu or yogi. Whoever sees danger in samsara it can be called a bhikkhu. So this happens in such kind of person and not in others. Such persons are bound to experience their Dhamma delight, rati. Of course, as for rati, delight, there are two kinds of delight, kama rati and Dhamma rati. sensuous delight and spiritual delight or Dhamma delight. As for the first one, the one enjoys the agreeable objects, seeing them, hearing them, and so on. All the agreeable objects seen, heard, taste, touch, and so on, enjoying them is what we call kama rati, sensuous delight. Now another delight, the Dhamma delight, spiritual or Dhamma delight, means the kind of delight, the kind of experience without this sensuous delight. Practicing to cultivate the mind and insight, seeing the arising and passing away in a fast manner at this stage of Udiyavya Jnana, one realizes the Dhamma delight, Dhamma rati. And it said here, amanusi rati, the kind of delight which surpasses or transcends human and the happiness of human and devas, or the kind of delight which cannot be found in the world of in the human and devas, in ordinary humans and devas, or the kind of delight or happiness out of reach of humans and devas. So in this way, this kind of delight, Dhamma delight, is qualified by the Buddha. So this kind of delight has the support of the mental states, wholesome mental states, which were discussed earlier on, such as passaddhi, tranquility, and so on, together with its associated mental states such as lahuta, lightness, malleability, wieldiness, proficiency, rectification. All these things are supportive to the experience of Dhamma delight. So, with the supporting this Vipassana, to see this fleeting momentary nature of experience. And at this stage, this piti and sukha also will arise by leaps and bounds. So will be the Dhamma delight by leaps and bounds. That kind of delight, the kama delight, may be good, like the episode which just mentioned, but there's always something lacking. When one comes to the practice of Dhamma and realizes that kind of delight, then one finds what one needs, what one lacks. And in this way, one comes to the Dhamma practice and is able to cultivate Vipassana Jnana, Piti, Passaddhi, and so on, overcome or realizes the happiness which transcends or surpasses the delight of human and devas, or the kind of delight which lies out of reach of the humans and devas. So one finds what one needs. So this kind of delight is harmless and it's not perilous, whereas the other kind is harmful and perilous. So there's a difference between these two kinds of delights. So when one pursues this spiritual delight, as much as one pursues, one is bound to realize more and more of this delight, so that one will not wish to extinguish or to relinquish it. So in not fully wishing to relinquish it, one wishing to share with others, one supports such retreats. Furthermore, the Buddha also qualifies that at this stage of seeing the rising and passing away of psychophysical phenomena, the old giving place to the new, in respect of not only the big chunks of objects, but the medium level object or minor details. Whatever is obvious rises and passes away in a very fleeting manner, the old giving place to the new, not only known directly but also known through reflection. As much as one is able to comprehend this phenomena either directly or through reflection, one is bound to experience this PT either on a minor scale or major scale, major level or minor level, and experiencing this in a very extraordinary manner. Now this PT, minor or large PT in respect of the mind and body, means this mind and body, whatever object you note, be it mind or be it body. If it's rupa, materiality, material object, you can note very well. You can note very well, and the practice will go very well. And if you note the mental object, like consciousness and things like that, your noting also goes very well. It notes very well. Good noting. So even when you experience these sensations which you have experienced before, you have a calm feeling, and you don't feel very mental distress about this physical pain sensation, and because you experience this piti, whether small piti or large piti, minor piti or major piti, by leaps and bounds. There will be no problems or difficulties to stay with such sensations, and this piti also becomes very obvious at this stage. Now, which kind of person is going to experience such phenomena? That is the kind of person who is consciously committed to virtue and advancing to the practice of mindfulness based on experiencing passaddhi, vipassana, jnana, piti, and so such persons are bound to experience this kind of phenomena. Not through experience, through practice, not from books or hearsay, or from teachers, or from thoughts. So in this way, one experiences piti, minor piti, major piti, as one experiences the fleeting momentary nature of objects. And in this way, this is the way to the deathlessness, that is Nibbana. Is expressed as Amarita Dhamma. It is in the West, or in some people say that this is like ambrosia, the food of the devas. But this food of the devas is from thoughts or from imagination, not in reality. But this kind of delight that you experience, that spiritual or Dhamma delight, as a result of this practice, has been qualified by the Buddha, is the real delight, which excels manifold this kind of ambrosia. So this kind of delight also is a kind of delight which is not involved with the sensual delight, kama guna, sensual pleasures. This is the pure delight. If one cannot approach, or one has no access to Kalyana Metta, spiritual guide or friend or teacher, one will not be able to know the correct method in order to realize this kind of happiness. Even if one has that method, if one does not practice effectively, then also one will not be able to realize this kind of happiness. Then one will be back to square one, back to one's sensual pleasures as usual, as before, thinking that the sensual pleasures is the real ones. Spend one's life in this way, devote to his sensual pleasures. This kind of sensual pleasures may be good, but it is fatal and dangerous, harmful, perilous. Whereas the kind of pleasure that you can get from the practice, Dhamma delight, is not fatal, is deathless, it is not perilous, harmless. It's given as Amarita, deathlessness. So at this stage, one will not hold this, one will not esteem sensual pleasures. Although one may be enjoying sensual pleasures unavoidably, one may not be enjoying like before. Enjoyment will not be like before. And one may even think that this is not necessary at all. Then one may even come to the stage of total cutting off with the social world or the spiritual, with the social life or social pleasures, spiritual bodily pleasures, and there will be only this will be replaced by contentment with little, with simplicity, leading to a kind of pleasure, happiness, nimarita sukha, the kind of sukha which is free of sensual pleasures, deathlessness. At this stage, one will not flinch from the practice. One will only advance until one realizes Nibbana. This much about the fifth impurity of insight, Sukha. Now we come to the sixth one, Adimokha. This is the kind of saddha which arises together with the noting mind. This becomes very obvious. As a result of this strong, powerful saddha, every time you note, you'll be free of impurities and mind becomes very clear. Even if you rest a while, not noting, the mind may stay clear as ever. That is unique. Because the sediments are settled down, so that there's only saddha, clarity remains. And in the text is given that when you put this a kind of ruby, I think it's a medicinal or very magical ruby, but in practice if you put alam, to be practical, in the water which is full of sediments, not clear, then soon alam will react with some of the materials in the water, and then all the sediments will settle down. Slowly the upper level will become clearer and clearer. Such is saddha. When saddha enters one's mind, every time one notes, one will be free of these sediments or impurities, and the mind will remain clear as ever. Even if one rests for a while without noting, this saddha will become obvious. That is, causing the clarity of the noting mind. As a result of the previous mental states, Abhasa, Piti-Pasati, Sukha, which rise by leaps and bounds, that also leads to this saddha, leading to this clarity of faith, Vipassana saddha. And because of this clarity of faith, saddha, there arises this trusting faith. So we have two things, clarity and trusting. That makes this Yongji and Burmese. Then comes this acceptance, being convinced of the truth of karma and karma result, the validity of karma and karma result, and the truth of the three gems, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. One becomes devoted to these, to the three gems, because one has experienced by oneself. This is experiential saddha. As much as one is able to realize that, there will be this resolute faith, which is adimokha, because there's a trusting faith. So when yogi experiences this kind of saddha, one will become very energetic and inspired with the practice, and will wish to practice more and more, longer and longer. Although one has first thought of practicing for a short while, 1 or 2 weeks, but one would extend one's stay to practice more and more, in order to, because one has this saddha. This is the power of saddha. And one will wish to share with others, share one's experience with others, and also plan for the spread, development of this practice, if one and for all, so as to purify one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors, so that they become unblemished, cultural and affable, leading to even world peace. So one will possess such desires, not only for oneself but also for others. Just like when one has had a good meal or food, one remembers one's near and dear ones, wishing them to share this food. So when this clear faith arises, there's trusting faith also, acceptance also arises. Clarity of faith leads to the trusting of faith, or clear faith leads to trusting faith. Nobody exhausts, nobody has to urge one to go on practicing, or nobody can prevent or hinder one from practicing, but it automatically arises in oneself, unprompted saddha. So, in this way, the saddha which has been awakened by listening to the talks and reading relevant books has been sustained with the practice, so that saddha becomes saddha develops by leaps and bounds until it reaches the stage of fulfillment. And to reach the fulfillment, one has got to progress through the insight knowledge, levels of insight knowledge, until one realizes the path consciousness. Then one saddha will become unshakable, and one has got to practice to reach that stage. At the stage of the Uriya Jnana, there will be this clear, trusting faith. Clear, trusting faith by one's own experience. This realizes through one's own experience. Having this trusting and clear faith, experiencing the Dhamma Rati, one will wish to share with the near and dear ones or with the community this Dhamma delight, so that they will be free from harm and peril. At this stage, one comes to possess the real metta, wishing for the welfare of others. And then, if others don't see this Dhammarati, and if they devote their life, spend their life with just Kamarati, then their life will be wasted with much dukkha. So in order, one wishes to remove dukkha from your friends or others. This is karuna, compassionate feeling. Therefore, this metta karuna becomes obvious at this stage. Without the practice, the metta karuna cannot rise. Even if it arises, it will not be the genuine or strong one. Only when one realizes Dhammarati, one will wish to share with others and wish others to be free from harm. Then only this metta karuna becomes very obvious. And based on that, if one practices, the mind becomes clear, because the mind is powerful, and if you share with others, others will also accept with faith. In this way, as I say, one and all will be able to practice or realize the Dhammarati, leading to peace and happiness. That's all for today.